We're going to do another top 10 for a year. I had picked 1963 since I had already seen a couple of movies, which will be on this list, that I loved from the year, and I figured I'd just keep it going. It is a great year. I'll recap it at the end, how I chose the movies and whatnot. Just for now, here's the top 10. Number 10 is 8.5. And I know it might seem a little bit rude or maybe even controversial to have it so low even in the year for such an acclaimed film, and part of an extremely strong year for Italian cinema in general. But I mean, I still think it's a great movie. This is a great year, and it ranks on the list to begin with, so I think that's a compliment. It is about a director who is struggling with director's block as people urge him to get on with the process while he drifts in and out of reality and fantasies. It's a little bit hard to describe. It's kind of an abstract, surreal sort of movie. So, for me at least, it's hard to say what makes the film feel so special, but there is absolutely some kind of special spark to it. Perhaps it's just the way it drifts through its ideas and the things it's, depicting, like this sort of half real, half unconscious, half subconscious, process of creativity that it's trying to describe. It's partially autobiographical for Fellini. At this point in his career, he had made 8.5 movies, so some of this does apply to him. This is a beautiful, unique piece of art, and it's a big part of film history. One of the main things I like about film is being able to see these unique experiences that I wouldn't have even thought to go experience, and 8.5 is one of those movies for me. Number 9, The House is Black. Set in a leper colony in the north of Iran, The House is Black juxtaposes ugliness, of which there is much in the world, as stated in the opening scene, with religion and gratitude. This is a short film. It's Iranian. It's only 22 minutes long, and it consists of footage of this leper colony, and it is narrated with poetry, Quran passages, and Old Testament passages. The inhabitants of the colony are treated evenly, respectfully. They are who they are. It does not shy away from the ugliness of the disease of leprosy. It'll show, the mutilations, the loss of limbs and body parts, the, cutting away of flesh and treatment, but it also doesn't take away like their agency. It doesn't take away any happiness or joy they might have. This isn't like a pit of misery of a movie. It's a plea for empathy. It is a depiction of a tragic part of humanity, and it's striking and beautiful in the way that it mirrors life in the way it's imperfect and yet worth living. Number 8, Charade. Time for something much, much lighter. After Regina falls for dashing Peter Joshua on a skiing holiday in the French Alps, she discovers upon her return to Paris that her husband has been murdered. She and Peter dodge conflicts and criminals while attempting to discover the truth. This is the work of Stanley Donen, who also directed, most notably, Singin' in the Rain. It is also the work of Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn, two legendary actors from, in some of their cases, 30s through 50s, 60s. The age gap between them is noticeable. You can definitely tell they're a couple decades apart. But I think especially, I'm impressed by Cary Grant in the role. I think Cary Grant specifically is such a skilled comedic performer. At least I didn't really have time to think about the external factors, age and things like that, because he's just so alive with energy, and it feels like he matches every bit of the youth that Audrey Hepburn brings to the frame. He doesn't feel out of place, and there are a lot of scenes that the two of them share together. Not a problem for me. I think they fit great. And overall, it's just a thrill ride. It's so fun to have like all these little plot details, these directions the story goes in. It does a lot, but I think you just feel so comfortable with what the movie sets up, with the dynamic between Grant and Hepburn, with Stanley Donen's direction. You just let yourself go in the direction, that Stanley Donen directs you. And you just feel okay because you know he's going to make good decisions. Number 7, When the Cat Comes. While old Olivia tells a group of children about his life as a sailor and how he met Diana and her cat with sunglasses, a strange circus comes to town. This may be Italy's year overall, but I think the Czechs are right there behind them. And really the entire decade is phenomenal for Czech cinema. An absolutely striking movement at this time, the Czech New Wave. To me, the thing that sticks out the most, that I remember the most, is just the simple, clear, and strong emotions, the positive emotions that this film generated for me. I did cry watching this the first time, and not out of sadness, just out of pure, just concentrated positive emotion. It was a great feeling. Very fun, exuberant, colorful film to watch. The color and some of the style is some of the best aspects of the movie. The magic show specifically is such a joyous highlight of the movie, and the things that it inspires, the circus, just a joy to watch and experience. It's got, this great main carnival theme song, great music in general, but especially that carnival song is one of my favorite songs in a movie I've heard. And it's got a cute cat. What more could you want from a movie? And also, this is yet another piece of evidence that any movie with a carnival is good. Number 6, Ikarie XB1, with another Czech movie. Starship Ikarie XB1 embarks on a mission deep into space in search of alien life. During their perilous journey, the crew confronts the effects of a malignant dark star, the destructive legacy of the 20th century, and ultimately the limits of their own sanity. This film is an important step in science fiction cinema. You can tell from some points of it that it probably had some influence on 2001, which itself is a seminal work in science fiction film. This is a gorgeous movie. The shadowy look is great, the higher contrast lighting, but also the production design and some of the sets for the interior of the ship are really wonderful. They have a sort of abstract-ish kind of what you would expect from a moderately distant future to look like, but also some nice geometric flourishes and things like that. And some of those sets make for great compositions with the camera work, with the lighting and everything like that. I think the end of Act 1 has maybe my favorite cinematic dance scene. I think it's really phenomenal for that part of the movie and for the feeling it creates. It's got some classic sci-fi feel in terms of, subject matter, bringing up, the nature of humanity in light of its technological ambitions, right? Like you see that all over the place. I mean, I mentioned 2001 earlier. There are similar ideas there. So in addition to it just being a great movie in and of itself, I think it's also got historical merit just in terms of seeing the progression of science fiction in film. Number 5, The Servant. Indolent aristocrat Tony employs competent Barrett as his manservant, and all seems to be going well until Barrett persuades Tony to hire his sister as a live-in maid. Another great looking movie. This one's about class and anger and revenge in a certain way. There's great camera movement and composition in moments, maybe most notably some really lovely mirror shots. Some of the intentional visual choices, I think, give some nice food for thought and some extra, thematic depth. Sound is used great for some tension in a couple of spots. Dirk Bogarde gives a fantastic lead performance. He and Sarah Miles have great chemistry in a couple of absolutely electric scenes together. Killer character changes and arcs going on, the way characters change in relation to each other. It's really wonderful. Some of the most interesting details in the film are those character relationships and details, so they're kind of spoilery, so I won't dig into them too much. We'll just say it's very interesting to see how characters are in relation to each other at different points in the movie. Joseph Losey was a great director, and this has a lot of fun, some thrills, tension, and just a great sense of artistry to it. Number 4, Hands Over the City. Prior to a city council election, the collapse of a building leaves a land developer and his political backers defending themselves against the scandal. This is another film that's anchored by performance, but this time from an unexpected place. In this case, it's Carlo Fermariello, who surprisingly enough was not an actor, but actually a career politician. Even so, he delivers this energetic and emphatic, electric performance. He's got so much enthusiasm, and when he speaks like in the city council chambers, it's just so magnetic. You feel the passion coming through him and you feel like you're right on board with him fighting against corruption. The movie strikes this balance between observation and action. In fact, the catalyst scene in the movie is just pure observation. No talking, no council debates. It's just watching the event unfold. And it's extremely powerful to me. So it balances that with the very active investigation and debate scenes, both of which have their own powerful and important energy to deliver to the film. It dives into a lot of layers of government policymaking, which I know does not sound very enticing, but believe me, it is fascinating to watch and to dive into. This is a different sort of political thriller, but still well worth your time. Number 3, The Sun in a Net. This is our third Czech film. One of the main films actually potentially responsible for the Czech New Wave. Aldrich, a student who directs quasi-existential verbal abuse at his girlfriend Bela, takes off to a summer work camp at a farm where he meets her grandfather. There are an impressive amount of ideas crammed into this 90-minute movie, and I definitely don't mean that in a negative way, that there's this much going on, that there's this much to dig through. It's a layered film. It's got so much intent. It deals with youth and age and, maturity and sight in multiple different ways, different visual ways, and perhaps even modernity. It helped to bring Czech cinema into a more modern visual language, even though it still does have some more urban countryside type of locations and people in it. You're never going to find better reflection shots. Really, just some beautifully poetic images in this movie. It's kind of hard for me to articulate what makes it so special, but it's really what it manages to put together in its short runtime. Such a memorable style and a memorable feeling of, these two different worlds coming together. It's something special. I love this movie. Number 2, High and Low. In the midst of an effort to take over his company, a powerhouse executive is hit with a huge ransom demand when his chauffeur's son is kidnapped by mistake. Much like 8 and a Half, maybe I don't need to say a lot. High and Low is a classic. It's directed by the great Akira Kurosawa. This is a movie that is half hostage situation, half police procedural, and it's 100% great. One of the most impressive, I think, aspects to me is the way it manages to make some of the, quote unquote, boring stuff an integral, exciting part of the movie. Because in the police procedure section, the police procedure is a little more than half. It's not an even split exactly, but that has the relatively mundane details of police investigation going on, and yet it matters, and it feels like it matters, and it feels tense and impactful regardless. It's not just chase scenes, it's not just tense encounters. It is the regular things that still feel like they have weight. Very impressive to me. We have in the same film both a bottle episode in the, hostage negotiation part, and also like full access to the city, a wider ranging manhunt. And I think it's extremely impressive to be able to wrangle both of those, make them both fit into place, both feel like a real impactful section of the movie. And it's just great artistry. And number 1, I Fidanzati. A young man has a renewed interest in his girlfriend when he takes a job that separates the two. To me, this is easily the best movie on the list, and I think it's one of the few best movies I've ever seen. I think there is absolutely phenomenal editing, and it's, some of it's pace, of course, but the more impressive thing to me is how it uses the edit to communicate the flow of memories and this way in which they kind of flit around the corners of your minds like little doubts. Little side things to distract you from what's at hand. It creates a memorable character of a city as well. It's not just about the main couple, but it's also this location that the main character inhabits for his new job that feels like it has life, that feels like it could be drawing him in. Music is great throughout. There are a couple of different dance scenes, and there is a main theme while he's walking around in a couple of scenes. Love all of it, especially this one little, I think, xylophone piece after a big party when he's winding down. He has a memory that has this xylophone song associated with it, and it's just lovely, meditative, feels like a comforting memory. And it has a fantastic Act 3 that pays off everything so well, that recontextualizes some things, that is such an emotional payoff that I've seen very few moments like it, for me personally at least. I cried during the ending of this movie because I just think it comes together so strongly. Cannot possibly say enough good things about this. It builds itself up so well, and it pays itself off so well. It feels like all one part of an organic process. I love it dearly. So overall, this might be my favorite year that I've done a deep dive on so far. I've only done a few, but this is like similar to 2022 for me, maybe a little bit better. I watched 50 movies from the year. I tried to watch a lot of the most popular, most high rated. I think it was 21, 30 of the most popular, and 24 of the 30 highest rated. So I didn't get all of them. Some of them maybe that seemed really long, weren't available, just didn't seem interested in. There are certainly plenty to pick from. I got a lot of the important ones. Some of the ones that are very notable that are not on the list include Bergman's films from the year, The Silence and Winter Light, which are very close. If I made like a top 15, they would be in there. I do enjoy them both a lot. I still want to watch more Bergman because he's just so consistent. He just always makes good stuff. I like The Great Escape and The Big City a good amount. I do like the Apu trilogy more from Satyajit Ray, but The Big City is also quite nice. 2 other random watches that I would recommend that are quite good, that might have been the rest of the top 15, were L'Immortel and Dry Summer. Dry Summer, I believe, a Turkish movie. If you've never watched a Turkish movie, go watch Dry Summer. I believe Martin Scorsese also really likes it. Was not such a fan of Godard's movies from the year. Was Contempt, Les Petits Soldats, but still always got Breathless. But if you have any favorites from the year that I did not touch on, feel free to leave them in the comments, and hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.